While they put up the slides, my name is Leo Jose. I'm a field engineer in Western Digital. I joined the company when it was SanDisk. A couple of years ago, SanDisk got acquired by Western Digital. So now we are like a large company where we have hard drives, flash devices all put together. We are like one of the largest storage company in the world. We have our design center at Prestige Tech Park near Marathalli. It's a pretty large facility. We have our own lab. And we do a lot of research. Design from, designing the wafer all the way to the chip, the interface between the chip and the NAND flash, all the way to the end product. So we would also like to encourage that if you plan to use any of our flash devices, you can always visit our lab and see for yourself how exactly we do our work. So for the participants here, I think the slide may be not visible, but I'll try to be as verbose as possible. Okay, just a few disclaimers on there'll be some future forward-looking statements, so we need to put this up. All right, so let me start by throwing some figures from a survey that has been done. Okay, somewhere in 2021, 2022, we expect, say, 1 billion devices on the IoT spectrum. So what happens when you have so many devices connected to each other and talking to each other? It'll be absorbing a lot of data, which is to the tune of 155 yottabytes. Now, what's a yottabyte? All right. So we can think into terabytes right now. That's how much we can span. Okay, gigabytes, terabytes. So after gigabytes, 1,000 gigabytes, you get terabytes. 1,000 terabytes, you get a petabyte. 1,000 petabytes, you get a exabyte. 1,000 exabytes, you get a zettabyte. And 1,000 zettabytes, you get a yottabyte. So it's definitely a very large number, something we can't even imagine right now. But don't be scared. This is the amount of data that's being absorbed by the IoT devices, not actually stored, because not all of this is useful data. What is being stored is just a very small fraction, 0.013% on the edge device. And out of this data that's being stored, 4.2% of this will go into the cloud. All right? But it's still sizable. You can see it's 88 exabytes of data going into the cloud. What this says is there is a sizable data going on the edge device and a sizable data going into the cloud. Why? Because there is a lot of computing that happens on the edge as well as on the cloud. So now data has a lot of, data is not just data anymore. There are a lot of facets to it. You can use data as a record. You can use data as communication. You can use data to improve your efficiency of life. You can use data as currency. In fact, there's a statement that says data is the new oil of the digital world. That kind of fuels everything that's happening in the future. So that's where we come in, right? So Western Digital is like the largest storage company right now. We are a $19 billion company, 73,000 employees. And Western Digital was formed out of all these other large brands. Down here, we have SanDisk, we have WD, GTech, HGST. All this put together, we have storage elements that span across all domains, starting from small micro SD cards to SSDs to enterprise class hard drives and SSDs that we have in servers and JBots. So if you think about it, with all these IoT devices running AI kind of applications, artificial intelligence, all of them talking to each other, the whole earth is going to be like a one big brain. And what does a brain need? It needs temporary and long-term storage. So that's where we come in again. And just to put out a fact, 50% of the data that's produced on the planet is stored on the bits that we produce. So that's how sizable and how the kind of impact that our company is making. Now talking about this edge to cloud architecture, okay? Initially, when we developed IoT applications, we were just talking about an IoT device and the cloud. We expected that all the data from the IoT will be transmitted to the cloud will do all the computation, and then the IoT will take the decision. But then we realized there are certain limitations. For example, if you need to rely on the cloud, you need to have really low latencies. The bandwidth needs to be high. You can't afford loss of data. And if you need real-time analytics, you can't rely on a cloud. So then came the concept of edge to cloud. Okay, so you can store data on the edge, do some computation. The rest of the data can be transferred to the cloud. And as that evolved, came another concept of having a middle tier, which we call the fog. So now we have edge, we have the fog, and then we have the cloud. And at all three tiers, you will have computation, you'll also have storage, okay, at different levels and different types of storage. All right, so now what is it that is driving data? One of the biggest factors that's driving data is video. You can see in all segments over here, whether it's consumer, medical, automobile, surveillance, or enterprise, okay? Like if you're dealing with AR or VR, you will be dealing with 4K or 8K kind of content. If you're dealing with surveillance, you're still okay with 720p SD, HD videos, no matter what, but still video is what drives the need to have more and more storage. So which are the culprits that is actually causing more data storage? One of them is definitely smartphone. If you buy a smartphone today, what's the internal storage you get on it? Around about 256, yeah. Going ahead, I'm sure you will see 512, then goes to 1 terabyte. And why is that? Why are they pushing more and more internal storage? The reason is because you have the amount of data coming in through all these cameras, right? You have HD, now you have UHD. Then you need to process the data. You think you have predictive image capture, you have these, landscape capture. You also have things like artificial intelligence. So a lot of computing has been built in for which you need a lot of storage, and fast storage that too. Automotive, surprisingly, also demands a lot of data. Okay, so some market estimate says that a typical car, like which has a lot of electronics on it, would require around 2 terabytes of data will be generated from the vehicle. Some of the tests that we did in our engineering department, we have noticed around 8 terabytes of data being generated by the vehicle. How much is stored, how much is processed is not known, but at least that much is being generated because of all the sensors and everything that is built into the car. So if you think about it, as we go more and more digital on a vehicle, everything will require some form of storage or the other.